There are two main trophies that every English team strives to win season in, season out: the Premier League and the Champions League. No matter how much of these trophies clubs win, they always want more. But the question is, which of these two trophies, the Champions League and the Premier League, is tougher to win? We will not be giving an answer to this question, you will be giving us your answer. But what we will be doing in this video is to make arguments for each side to help you get to your answer. Are you ready? Let's get down to it. Let's start with the Champions League. First of all, just as the name implies, it's a league for champions. The competition is made up of the best teams from leagues all around the continent, so there's hardly an easy fixture when playing in the UCL. In addition to playing champions from other leagues, you are also met with different styles of football from different countries. It's easy to get used to possession football from your opponents as a La Liga side or gegenpressing as a Bundesliga side, because that's what's prevalent in those countries. But when you're in the UEFA Champions League, you're met with very different styles of football in virtually every round of games. So if you're not good at adapting, you'll find yourself losing out. Secondly, the Champions League is obviously the more prestigious trophy. When you win the Premier League, you become the champions of England, but there are also champions of Spain, Germany, Italy, France, Portugal, even Moldova. But when you win the Champions League, you become the champions of the entire continent of Europe, and for that entire year, there's only one of you, one champion, one king of the continent. That prestige, that high value, that status adds to the toughness of the competition. Nobody wants to put a foot wrong because they know that they're battling the best teams and best players on the continent for just one spot. And that is what makes the stakes higher, and the stakes being higher is what brings the nerves, and those nerves make the games more difficult even for the biggest players in the world. Also, hey, look at the dominance we see in most of the big leagues in Europe. We can never see that in the Champions League. Bayern have won the Bundesliga for 10 years straight now. Juventus did it in Serie A between 2012 and 2020. And even in the Premier League, we saw how Sir Alex Ferguson dominated the league with United for years. And with what is looking like 4 in 5 years, Pep seems to be on the same path of domination with City. That rarely ever happens in the Champions League. Only one team has won the Champions League in back-to-back seasons, and everybody recognises that as iconic and historic. And we all just know it will be a long time before we see something like that again. More so, we could argue that the difference in formats is one factor that makes the UCL tougher to win. Generally, knockout tournaments are more brutal than leagues. In a knockout tournament, once you're out of the group stages, every game feels like a final. You put one foot wrong or lose your head for just 1 minute and you're punished for it instantly. We all remember what happened to Manchester City, PSG and Chelsea this year against Real Madrid. It also happened in the 2019 semi-final between Ajax and Spurs, and in the quarters between Spurs and City. Let's also not forget how the star-studded Galacticos, managed by Mourinho, brutally lost the semis against Bayern in 2012. Even in finals of the competition we see it. We saw Bayern lose their head for a minute in 2012 against Chelsea, Dortmund in 2013 against Bayern, Atletico in 2014 against Madrid, Liverpool in 2018 against Madrid, City in 2021 against Chelsea. Every one of these guys paid the ultimate price for one simple mistake or a momentary lapse in concentration. That is how tough it is in the Champions League. It's not like that in the Premier League. You can lose your head a load of times in the course of a season and still go ahead to win it or have a successful season. We saw Liverpool put up one of the worst title defences in 2021, but they still ended up third in the league. Imagine that. When Madrid put up a horrible title defence in the Champions League in 2019, they were knocked out in the round of 16. City very famously lost their heads in the dying minutes against Spurs in the Premier League this season, but it ended up not being very costly for them. In fact, who better to tell you how tough the UCL is if not this Manchester City side who, despite being perhaps the best team in the world for years, have constantly failed to bring home the big ears. But wait a minute, you know, we could also argue that league formats are tougher than knockouts. Now listen, in a knockout game you don't play up to half the number of games you do in a league season. More specifically, to win the Champions League, you only have to play 13 games. And you know what's crazy? You can win the tournament without winning up to half of those games. No joke, you could actually win the Champions League by winning only 30% of all your games. That is crazy. And we're not just pulling numbers out of thin air here, these are facts. 3 wins are usually enough to get you out of the group, and thanks to the away goal rule, you could get to the final by drawing all your knockout games. Even though that rule is now extinct, you could still draw in full time and go through on penalties. So if the final is also decided on penalties, a team could literally win the Champions League by winning just 3 games out of 13. That's about a 23% win rate. There's absolutely no way in the world you're winning any league title with a 23% win rate. Those numbers show you that you could ride your luck all the way to a Champions League title, but that can never happen in the Premier League. You can only win the title after you've proven to be the best team in the country that season. And how do you prove that? By playing every single team in the league 2 times. There's no luck here. How possible is it to be lucky for 38 games? Meanwhile, in the Champions League, you can get lucky with draws, as we have seen so many times before, including Liverpool's run to the final this year. You can get lucky with officiating, as we've also seen many times, including Barcelona against Chelsea back in 2009 and Real Madrid's entire three-peat. You could get lucky that your opponents make mistakes, as we saw in the 2018 final between Liverpool and Real Madrid. Literally so many ways that you could get lucky in the UCL, but in the PL, even if you got lucky in 30% of your games, you could still end up not even finishing in the top 4. You have to prove that you are indeed great. And you may bring the argument that Leicester winning it back in 2016 proves that anybody can win it, but that would be totally disrespectful to that great team, because Leicester City were actually the best team in England that year, and by some distance too. They finished 10 points above Arsenal in second place, losing just 3 games in the entire season. For context, the City Centurions lost 2 games in 2018. Leicester scored the 3rd most goals and conceded the 2nd fewest goals in the league that season, so was it that shocking? Yes, but were Leicester City lucky to have won the league that year? Absolutely not. Also, because of the long breaks you usually get between rounds, a team can win the Champions League based on a short period of brilliant form, say 3 months. But 3 months of brilliant form and an average rest of the season will not win you the Premier League. You have to be good for the most part. The lowest points tally to have ever won the Premier League was 75, and this was done by Manchester United back in '97. But even in the worst ever season, United lost just 13% of their games. But like we've established already, you could lose more than 50% of your games in the UCL and still win the title. Let that sink in. Oh, and we should also add that there's no shock factor in the Premier League. Most of the teams in the league know you very well. They've played you over and over in the last few years, and they know exactly how to approach matches against you. You don't have that in the Champions League. Finally, the Premier League is so tough that it requires teams to be physically, mentally and tactically sound for at least 80% of the season in order to win it. But this season we have seen Real Madrid, who lost games in every single round of the competition, make it all the way to the Champions League final. They lost 4 games out of 12 and could win the tournament, but Man United lost 5 games out of 38 in 1997, and that is the worst title win we have ever seen in the Premier League. Just let that sink in. So, having considered all the facts we've provided and arguments we've made for both sides in this video, what's your answer for us today? Is the Premier League tougher to win, or is the Champions League much harder? Let's have a discourse in the comments. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel too. Also, turn on the bell notification so you never miss out on new content, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.